Hey, what's up? It's Jim, and today I'm going to talk about the film The Visit. This is, I guess, considered to be the M. Night Shyamalan comeback movie. It's the first time he's made a semi-decent movie in a very long time. And in a lot of ways, yes, it is an actual kind of comeback, because I actually semi-enjoyed this movie and didn't have a terrible time and go, what the fuck was that? So, it's a mini victory in that regard. However, it's not a comeback in the way that you think of a real comeback. A real comeback is when somebody has a certain style, that style goes out of fashion, and that style comes back. The Visit isn't like that. M. Night Shyamalan did not make The Good Lady in the Water. He clearly knows that something is very wrong with his filmmaking career, and he's decided to, instead of make kind of an M. Night Shyamalan movie, which this very much is, it's not like it's not, but it combined his style with something that will sell, an easy premise that can be easily marketed, and making it a found footage horror movie, which is still in vogue for some reason. It's kind of like him making sacrifices and being tightly budgeted to make the kind of movie that he knows will make money. He's not trying to challenge himself and be like a crazy auteur or anything. This is him trying to come to our 2015 level. This is almost like a studio for hire thing, but it's like a studio director understanding what he needs to do to stay relevant. And M. Night Shyamalan very much needed a film to make him be relevant. He hasn't really been relevant in a very long time. I mean, he's been relevant as a joke, but that's not really the same thing. And this is really the film that kind of does it. It puts him on the same regards as people like Scott Dickerson, or the guys who did the Paranormal Activity movies, or anyone in kind of mainstream horror. And maybe as I was watching that, I kept thinking maybe that's where he needs to go, because honestly, he feels more at home in this than he did making all those weird, strange movies that nobody liked over the past 10 years. Two kids who are visiting their grandparents for the very first time. They've never met them before or even seen pictures of them because their mom and her parents had a falling out a long time ago, and then she ran away and hadn't seen them since. The girl is making a documentary about the process because why not? And the boy's kind of like a rapper type of person, which is kind of funny. He has a funny little bit where he doesn't curse, he actually just says female pop singers' names, so sometimes he'll just say Shania Twain or Shakira. It was a cute little bit. It's not hilarious, but it was cute. It was a good way to have cursing and actually have it be funny and keep it within a reasonable rating, I guess. But they soon realize after they're staying with their grandparents that something is not right, and they have to go to bed and not leave their room after 9:30 because anytime they open the door they see their grandmother doing crazy things, clawing at the walls, running back and forth, crawling on all fours, doing all sorts of crazy shit with a knife, and they knew something is amiss and something is wrong, especially because their grandfather also acts strange during the day, even though their mom says they're just old and old people do weird things. And they're very alarmed, but over the course of the week that they're staying there, it gets progressively worse and worse, and they keep wondering if this is how old people act, or if they're staying with two very crazy old people. You could, I guess, call this dementia exploitation or dementia. It's a very basic premise, and people have compared it to Hansel and Gretel. I don't really think it is, other than the very hilarious oven line from the trailer, which I still think is funny when she's like, "Can you get in the oven to clean it?" This movie very much plays on the kind of fun of its premise and gives you kind of the simple mainstream multiplex kind of horror movie that you really expect from Blumhouse and the multiplex at this point in time. It kind of combines it with this girl making a documentary and tries to be more of a documentary than most of them are. It's almost like M. Night kind of doesn't understand how to make a film like Paranormal Activity, where it's like, who found the footage? I don't know, somebody, who cares, whatever, you're watching the movie. I guess it's not really a found footage movie because you know who found the footage the whole time, which is interesting. It's a lot different from the rules of the current found footage crop. I'd almost assume that M. Night had probably seen Cannibal Holocaust, but knowing his style, I kind of don't think he's seen Cannibal Holocaust. It does try to be like this little girl's documentary, but it's kind of like a little girl's documentary through the guise of sitcom writing. When I was watching this film, that I kept thinking about M. Night Shyamalan's style, and like how did we get to this point with him, and why was he so popular, and why did his films work in the first place, and what was so special about them. And I think the thing with M. Night Shyamalan is his films aren't really like deep at all. They have a twist and everybody laughs at those, like the robot chicken joke. They're like, with a twist. The thing with M. Night Shyamalan is his films are very surface level and they act like there's a lot more to it. I think Sixth Sense tries to hint at like it has like some psychology behind it, like a later Hitchcock movie or something, but it's really the kid sees dead people. It's about dead people and loss. It's not exactly like Hidden Meeting. His films that work have that, but it kind of works for them, and he gives you a really fun, audience-friendly experience, which is probably why he was so successful. We kind of put him up too high on a pedestal just because he had so many hits and such large hits, and the whole, you know, he's the next Spielberg nonsense, which was kind of jumped the gun there. Spielberg kind of understood what his films meant, and they meant a lot more than just exactly on the surface level of what they were saying, or there was a lot going on artistically or theory-wise that was going on. M. Night doesn't really have that. M. Night just covers you up with a blanket and makes you feel okay, and you don't feel like you're too challenged by it. There's not issues you're really thinking of from it. There's nothing you're not sure about. You can kind of rewatch it and see his little twists behind it, but after you've watched it once or twice, you kind of get it, and you're like, oh, okay. It's not going to like make you wonder forever and make you keep picking up new little things. It's not that it's bad that they work on a very surface level, but it's kind of probably why something like The Village tried to be about like politics or something, and it just came out all stupid. If you look at his films that work, they work on that surface level. The Sixth Sense works on that. Unbreakable works on that. Signs is okay. I don't have strong opinions on Signs. I'd never rewatch Signs. The Visit very much works on that. And it's almost like M. Night's a very talented studio director who people thought could be more, and I'm kind of hoping he realizes that that was like not a good idea for anybody, audience, him as a director, studios making money. He just shouldn't be allowed to do that. He should make movies like this, because if they work on a very surface level, kids staying with their crazy grandparents and it's a horror movie, that works for him. That's how he works as a director. While I was watching this, I kept thinking, I wish he would just work for Blumhouse. Blumhouse is a good place for him. He actually made this independently. He used his fee from After Earth to pay for this movie, and then I think Blumhouse bought it or gave them some more money or something. I'm not exactly sure. That kind of smaller vibe and that more simple premise works for him. When he tries to do all these other things that are just worlds he can't really handle, he just can't do large worlds. He can do a simple kind of surface level, these grandparents are crazy type of thing, and that works for this kind of a movie. I mean, sure, it'd be probably really cool to see a film that's really about all these other issues, but honestly, you see the trailer and the grandma's like get in the oven and you're like, oh cool, and this is the kind of movie you want from it, and he delivers it to you. He delivers you a really good, creepy, evil grandparents movie, and he gives you exactly what you want from it on a very surface level. And I wasn't really thinking about issues with it. It didn't make me think about my grandparents or that I would catch old people disease or something. It just made me think, you know, oh, I had an enjoyable time in a horror movie. It's not like The Babadook, and it's making me think about other issues connected to it. It's just making me think like, oh, that was a good, like, fun little horror film. It does have a twist. Spoilers, an M. Night Shyamalan movie has a twist. You'd think he'd step away from that, but no, he likes twists. It makes the audience feel like there's some meaning there where you're like, oh, it was this the whole time. M. Night. I think it actually works. The first time it's probably worked for him in a very long time. It's weird to think about he hasn't had a good movie since like Clinton was president. And the one after that was like Bush's first term. Wow, it's been a while. I like this film on its simple horror moviness, and it works in that guise. It has a small, earnest little cast, and everyone works really well. And he works really well with the kid actors as well as the grandparent actors. They all play their roles very well in a very genre way. I'm not really aware if this is a genre. If it is, I definitely don't know the history of it, but it feels like it fills out a genre like it's a genre piece in itself. He directs it almost like a studio director that knows the rules of how to do this in a very self-assured way. Most of these horror films, it feels like a younger director just trying to hope this all kind of works together. He feels like he knows what he's doing. doing. There's kind of a confidence we haven't really seen from M. Night Shyamalan in his direction in a very long time. It's actually a very enjoyable, fun thing to see at the multiplex, is to see an experienced director really know what they're doing. It feels like he's lowballing it in, but really we're like, yeah, but this is like, you're really good at lowballing it in, or as you perceive it to be. To be honest, this is like really what he should be doing, and he directs it in a fine way. The found footage thing is a little like silly, and I'm honestly like, how is this found footage thing still going? Like, I've seen like 3 found footage horror movies: Unfriended, The Gallows, and The Visit. I think Unfriended will probably end up being the best one this year so far. Or is the Green Inferno one? I don't know. The Visit was a fun little, exactly what you get kind of horror film. I like cheap B, fun little horror movies that give you exactly what you want. And without all the M. Night stuff and talking about that, it did exactly what I wanted it to. There's a certain thing about like just having a simple cheeseburger and wanting a simple cheeseburger and leaving and be like, well, I don't really need one again for a little bit, but that was fine. And I think that works with M. Night's style. He makes you feel like everything's tied up in a bow. He gives you a twist, so it feels like there's some like craftsmanship there that there probably isn't. I mean, technical wise, but writing, it's just like kind of like a poof of smoke going up and you're like, wow, I'd buy it, but it's kind of cheap. But he's good at it, so you just kind of go with it. And this film works for the kind of director he is, and for the first time it's like he actually knew how to get a film to work with him. I don't think it's a full comeback. I just think it's him understanding exactly what he needs to do to stay relevant. He got his old style to work again in a very calmed down, simpler, modest way. It does feel like a much older director kind of coming back to something he left a long time ago. It's nice to see him come back. It's hard to explain to people, like, no, there was a time where everyone liked him. Unbreakable was cool, right? And I think The Visit kind of makes you go, okay, there's still kind of a good director in there. I would like him to just make movies like this. I think he's good at making movies like this because he's the kind of director that works with just a simple horror movie premise. He has a little twist in there. He spooks you out a little. He made my heart race a little bit. He's actually decent at a jump scare, and you're fine and you're happy and you leave, and people are like, oh, what was that? And you're like, you know, it was fun. Whatever. He's good at that. He's just good at the simple, expect what you get, surface level horror movie. And that's what you want from The Visit, that's what you want from Blumhouse, and that's what you want from a multiplex horror movie. And gives you kind of the cheeseburger of a movie that it kind of is, and then you leave, and you probably have a little gas later and go, yeah, I probably should watch something a little deeper. But it was fine for tonight. So if you have seen The Visit, and you would like to talk about it, then comment below in the comments, and subscribe if you would like to.